Hope Channel, changing lives.
It's another beautiful Tuesday, and I am so delighted to come into your homes again. The program you are watching is Love at Home on Hope TV. We thank you so much for always calling in your friends to join, listen, and share this important program. Please let me remind you that you can join us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on our WhatsApp lines 0559 680066. 0559-680066. The program is Love at Home. And Love at Home, our main aim is to educate, inform, inspire, motivate you and your family as we prepare to meet Christ in heaven. Amen to that. So why don't you help me? Why don't you help us so that we all prepare our families to make sure that there is love at home every time. Yes, today we are having a very wonderful discussion, and I'm sure you are wondering why this topic. We are discussing dealing with family rivalry. Is it really there? Is that the case? Do we have it between children? Do you have it between even married people? On this show, we're going to discuss more. My name is Efia Sewa Mansa, and to help me do this discussion, I have on my far left a very beautiful woman. Yes, see the smile. Yes, a very beautiful woman, and her name is Dr. Evelyn Owusu Roberts. She is a lecturer, a licensed clinical psychologist. My dear, I love this green.
Thank you so much.
So natural.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Your day?
Perfect.
Okay, to God be the glory.
Amen.
You are welcome.
Thank you so
Love
much.
at Home.
Thank you so much.
My special other guest, as usual, is Pastor Ebenezer Quay, and he's also a lecturer at Valley View University, and he's a life coach. So for
Yeah.
I
had to take my time to say
yes, I know. I hope your day was good.
By the grace of God, everything is
you're
fine.
repping in this culture.
Oh yeah, why not?
So
Yeah.
nice.
So today I'm not.
Papa. So nice. Thank
Yes.
you. And to you out there, my lovely viewer and listener, I want to welcome you especially to this all-important program. Remember to share, like, subscribe to this program, because we have lots of important things to help all of us as we learn and unlearn every day. Today's program, we've been talking about rivalry. Why that? Why are we talking about rivalry in the family setting? Does it occur? Yes, it does. And that is why there is the need for us to discuss how we can avoid it, how we can prevent, or if there is, what we can do to make sure that it subsides. That is why we are discussing this program. So join me. And a special thanks to our Angels of Hope. Yes, those who are sponsoring all our programs on Hope TV. We thank you so much. If you want to be a member, please join us, because there's so much blessing when you support God's work. And God bless you as you are thinking about becoming a member. God bless you. Now let's start our discussion. Sweet Evie, when we say rivalry, what is it about? When do we see, or if you say rivalry, what is it about?
When we are talking about rivalry, we are really looking at that intense competition between two parties most of the time. So it could be between families, which is why we are here today, or it could even be between teams. We just saw the National Science and Math quiz just end. So these are some forms of rivalry.
Okay, Pastor, is there anything else you want to?
Yeah, actually, when you talk of rivalry, like she said, we can also look at it from the perspective of equality. Okay. Equality in the sense of people who have probably the same standing and they are striving towards the same objective, the same goal. So it creates some sense of competition amongst them, and that could lead to rivalry. And so if we look at it from that perspective, bringing it to the family domain, then we are looking at, let's say, siblings. We are looking at husband, wife, and that kind of things. So generally it has the idea of wanting to get the same results, objective, people of equal standing, as well as trying to compete amongst themselves to get attention or get to a certain level. Yeah.
So sometimes you want to add something.
No, I think that's
so
good.
it means trying to get attention sometimes can bring this rivalry between teams. Sometimes the attention alone one's trying to get from somebody.
Yes, actually, it has a positive side and negative side, and I think, like she mentioned earlier, in sports, for instance, they use rivalry to get attention of the nation, of people, viewers. For instance, there was one boxing match recently between Tyson Fury and the other guy. It was his first time, I can't mention the name. I've forgotten the name. You know, they made it in a way that, you know, to pep up people to anticipate. And so sometimes it is used in that positive sense. But when it comes to the family circle, yes, there are some positives, but normally it generates some negative feelings here and there. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So what are the possible causes of family rivalry? Yeah.
When we are looking at some of the causes, I think we look at, individually speaking, personality differences. Personality differences can cause rivalry. So sometimes you have also people who approach certain things in a different way. So sometimes when there are maybe different perspectives to one thing, so maybe you have a parent, okay, and two parents in a home, both have the objective of wanting to raise their kids a certain way, and there's that agreement. But then one parent will go about it like one way, another might go about it another way. And sometimes even among that couple, there might be a certain level of competition that could even come up. And of course, some discord and conflict that can come up depending on what else is going on.
Okay. Now, but Pastor, are there signs for us to see that this thing coming, hey, no, this one is no good, it's not healthy for us?
Yeah, there are signs, but permit me to take it from the biblical perspective.
That's good.
I'll share a few scenarios so we could see the signs coming around them. For instance, the first two boys for Adam and Eve, there was that rivalry amongst the two. And we could see that at the end of the day, it led to the death of one of them. If it is not managed, that could be the result thereof. We could also see rivalry in the family of Jacob. I mean, Jacob himself and the brother Esau. You could see that kind of rivalry as well. For theirs, it even started in the womb and all the way to childhood, growing up and all that. You know, you could see it also in the life of the children of Jacob, that is Joseph on one side, and the other brethren on the other side. There was that rivalry. Then also Leah and the sister Rachel, they also had that. I could see even rivalry between the disciples of Jesus Christ. They were striving who should be first, who should be the leader, and all that. All right, let me talk a little bit about the causes, then I could talk about the signs.
Okay.
The causes, apart from the personality differences, sometimes it depends on how parents raise their kids. When they show favoritism to one at the expense of the other, it could cause that. Then also, even amongst siblings, normally, let's assume that you have one child. I'm just using that as an example. You have one child. When that person has enjoyed much of attention and all that, when the next one comes, he or she feels that the new one that has come is going to take that attention from him or her. So immediately, you could see that kind of arousal of rivalry between them. But there are ways to manage it so that it doesn't happen. Signs of it would be that, for instance, let me use children once more. When a child is baby talking, the person can talk, but he's trying to talk like a baby. You know, the child is trying to reduce himself so that he's taken care of, just as you are doing for Yeah, this
the
one.
other
The
children,
the younger one. Sometimes also they can even become physical. They can become physical, hit the baby, you know, or sometimes also a child may not want to go to bed early. You know, you are telling go and sleep and the child is still sitting. You know, it's a sign. Especially when you have a little baby, that, you know, is a sign. Let me bring you another cause so that I can relate it to another sign. Is you see, when you have a child and visitors come, they come because of the newborn baby. And so when they come because of the newborn baby, the elderly one feels that nobody comes to visit me. So it creates that sense. And so when we see all these things, we should be able to learn how to relate also to the elderly one, just as we relate to the younger one. I was shocked when I read that one of the causes would be that when you you have like the elderly one has used books, even books, and you pass on the books to the younger one, sometimes the younger one feels inferior. You know, that something that this one has used, you are now giving it to me. And sometimes it's in the mind of the elderly one that you are taking my things and you are giving it to. So all these things, so you need to manage it and talk to them. And they begin to show the signs. You know, sometimes the signs are overt. You can see it. Sometimes they are covert. You don't see the sign. A child can decide to withdraw, to remain quiet and all that. Sometimes all these things are signs of rivalry. Yeah.
That's a lot. Yes, but Evie, let me know from your earlier, what you said earlier on, you were clear that even in marriages that's happening. Can you give us some examples even in marriages?
Okay. So sometimes, well, I think typically, I mean traditionally, typically, even when you want to look at the whole idea of work and income, and how usually a man wants to be the one who is the top earner, and how sometimes it can bring certain conflicts and feelings of inferiority if a woman is the one that's earning more. So that's one typical example about some of the rivalries that can happen. But then sometimes it manifests itself in lots of different ways, you know, in the home. And so then it comes out through arguments that are really, when you look at the bottom of it, it's really...
It's not really necessary.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
And it has to do with, like,
yeah,
you're earning more than me, and that makes me feel inferior. So that's an example.
And I guess even in the career path, when one feels that you are climbing too much, one may feel that you are going, and so the person may feel little or belittled.
Yes.
It does happen, right?
Yes, it does happen.
Okay.
And so then sometimes, depending on the personality of the man, it can even lead to abuse.
Personality of the man or woman?
Yes, well, yes.
I don't want my fine men to be
yes, but but I did say I was saying the man, because usually when we are looking specifically at abuse, you tend to find men abusing women more than the other way around. And so yes, that is basically.
But Pastor, are there forms of rivalry?
Yeah, there are forms. And we could take them from various angles or perspectives. For instance, you could have a very covert or concealed rivalry. You could have mild, and you could have it overt. And that is when she mentioned that abuse and all that. We could also have it in the sense of being biological in the family setting, or personal awareness. Said an awareness you have that you are beginning to see yourself as you are seeing yourself set apart, and you want to be what you want to be as against what others are. That could create rivalry. Then also you can have the organizational one happening in organizations, and like we mentioned, the sports as well. All these areas, they show themselves. I mean, rivalry shows itself in all these areas of life, you know.
Now, talking about rivalry, in the organization, to what extent can it be bad in the work setting? Yes.
I think that when you look at the effect of it, so now you have two people who are in this intense competition, and then now it's starting to affect the work. It's starting to affect the atmosphere. Now it's like two camps. Either you are supporting person A or you are supporting person B, and then all of a sudden it can even shift focus so that you are not really attending to the work that you're supposed to be doing, and then exactly, and so that because you're trying to be superior over another person, that becomes the goal, and that is not the goal of work.
Pastor, you want to add something?
Yeah, definitely. And let me shift it a little bit to the family setting again, because the family itself is an organization on its own. So in the attempt to have this rivalry amongst yourself, like she said, you forget about the set objective where you are going to. Because you see, there is some level of selfishness in rivalry. So it is what I want, not generally what the entire organization or the family want. So it ends up affecting your progress. And one of the things she mentioned that I would like to emphasize as we discuss this part of it is the fact that, yes, men want to be on top. And so generally, many of our men or several of our men are not able to withstand a woman who is climbing, a woman who is striving to become something. It happens that way. And I think I want to say that men should rather be happy when they find a wife who is doing so well that you can point and say that this is my wife. I mean, it's for me, I think it's nice and it's good, you know. But sometimes it's difficult for men to appreciate it that way, and they tend to create situations that will rather bring that rivalry. And when it happens that way, some women are also not able to contain it, so they begin to deteriorate, to come down, and it affects the objective for the family and everything else that you have to go through.
How bad can it affect the family? I mean, how serious can it be?
I think one is the disunity that it brings, because the objective of the family, one objective of a family is that there's supposed to be that unity. And so then when there's that rivalry, then it brings about that disunity, it brings about conflict. And so then that becomes a problem, that becomes a breeding ground for so many other things as well. And so then at the end of the day, the family is not healthy.
But why should there be rivalry among, siblings of the same mother and father, parents? Why?
And so, like we said earlier, if you use, let me use the Bible story once again. If you look at Jacob's family, it appears he had a special liking for Joseph. You know, that special liking is what brought about the rivalry. And then again, his shared dreams that from the interpretation of the dream, the understanding, they were going to serve him. And so that could also be one of the reasons for a family rivalry. Again, when parents seem to shower praise on one child as against the others, or, you know, that could also bring about that. So we must learn how to manage our homes in a way and not to be seen as going for one and leaving the other. At the end of the day, it creates that rivalry. Even Rebecca and Isaac also did the same thing. And at the end of the day, it created a whole lot of problems in the family. So we must, once they are our children, we must learn how to love all of them. And even if for any reason we have some kind of liking for one than the other, we must manage it in a way so that it doesn't become so exposed for the other to know, or else it will create all sorts of things. And you see, some of the rivalries we see in adult age, they start from childhood. Again, for instance, if the woman is pregnant and is about to deliver, sometimes we try to move the early one to another room, you know. In doing that alone, you are saying that you are I mean, dejected, or, you know, for somebody special to come, you know, and it creates all manner of psychological thinking. And so they grow up with that kind of feeling. And so we create the rivalry at home, unawares, and we begin to see the effects of it.
Now, Doc, from the psychologist's point of view, how bad is it? I mean, if your mother is going to deliver, a new baby is coming, normally we decorate the room, we do that. Why should an elderly person, I mean, sees it that he is not wanted? And so that thinking should come into his or her mindset. Why?
I think because usually these are children who are thinking that we're not necessarily mature adults, yes. And so then their level of really interpreting events is really limited, and so then they are really already in their world, able to understand that, you know, nice things are associated with like good things. So then it's like, okay, if you are having nice things, that must mean something. Okay. And so then why is the baby having all of these nights? It's for baby. Everything is for baby. What about me? You know, and so then that becomes a problem. So then one of the ways that like parents can prepare, you know, children, it's possible to prepare a child, you know, really letting the child, you know, for example, think about the role that you are going to play. You know, oh, you're going to be such a good sister. You're going to be such a good big brother, you know, and so then that it doesn't become, you know, a new child doesn't become like, someone to, you know, be in competition with, but oh, like I have a responsibility. Yeah. Like my baby is coming, your baby is coming. Are you ready for your baby? You're going to be. So these are some of the ways to prepare, you know, a child, you know, for a new child coming in as well.
When you mentioned the issue of personality types, how do we incorporate the personality types of these behaviors into managing this rivalry at home?
So when we are looking at personality types, there are a lot of different ways to look at it. We can have like the formal personality types, where we are really looking at where do you fall. And then we're also looking at just the personality differences, where sometimes you have a parent who has a similar personality type as a child. So maybe you are outgoing, your child is outgoing, and so then you naturally
click.
Yeah, you click. But then you have a child who may be an introvert, and you just don't understand, you know, why a child is that way. And so then with that, already there's something that, you know, maybe even a little bit covert, like you were saying, that can form, that really needs to be checked as well. So that's what we are really talking about. We are talking about personality type, like the formal personality types, and just the fact that sometimes with parents and kids, and also, you know, when you have children, maybe they have like different intelligence or cognitive capacities. You know, you have the child that's doing really well, and then you have the child that might be struggling, and so then naturally, oh, you are doing so well in school, and it's not really to, you know,
downplay
the other one, but then you just naturally are proud of you know, a child that's doing really well, and so then that can also bring about some rivalries. And sometimes it's not even about that cognitive capacity, the differences in that, but it could even be in the child that is well behaved. You know, some children come out and they are just rule followers, you know, and so then that's kind of like easy to like and be drawn to. And then you have the child who's like fighting everything and questioning everything, and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to pray for you and find some pastor to give you some deliverance or something. But then you see, so these are some of the things that can happen at home that could bring about some rivalries. Not intentional, like parents don't, you know, decide to have that happen, but then it's just something that can happen to that we can be aware of.
This is really interesting. If you just joined, we are discussing dealing with family rivalry, and this is so important. I like the way my guests, I mean, they've taken us through. It's a school altogether. I keep on saying that on Love at Home, we learn and unlearn. So if you have just joined, we are going for a quick break. Please stay tuned. When we come back, we continue the discussions. Thank you.
There are people out there who need Jesus. The only way they are going to be touched is through the power of the gospel. Remember, you are the hands, mouth, and feet of Jesus Christ.
Let's do this together.
And it could be a form of mission-driven purpose. And Hope Channel Ghana, and then now and I'm some catching chilling to be as so. If you open my bosom in that Eddie Kai, Echo Canada Toson Kono, I think Pinunia Dunimius, I'm a chill 1st to 9th December 2023, and remain on Sian for beer and Edimedia Shasso, a basso live, Hope Channel Ghana, Hope Beer Betimia Shebi, and another from Country Damfway, near Country Mia, Nayan Muchinku, Nayantina Mia Sam. Are you living with hope? Choice a yetina and it does so.
Every individual has a story. Stories of social issues such as infertility.
You did not marry your wife only because she's going to give you a child. You married because you loved her. Whatever comes on your plate, you're ready to accept that.
Abuse, obesity, life struggles, and others can be very frustrating. That is why Real Talk is back again with another exciting season where individuals like you can come into our studio or join us virtually to share your story and experience. To share your story, you can reach us through our WhatsApp number at 0559 680-066, or you can email us at hoptvghana@gmail.com. We say don't lock them away. If you ignore them, they can just get angrier and louder.
Hi, you are welcome, and thank you so much for still joining us on the show. We are discussing dealing with family rivalry, and we've talked at length. We've discussed a lot. Doc was telling us earlier on, mentioning the issue of personality difference in how to raise our children. Now, I want to come back to you, Pastor, from where Doc ended. Okay. Still on the personality types. You realize that some children may have high IQs, some may not, or some may be good in another area. Yeah. But as parents, we are quick to say, oh, once you are getting 100%, you are good. You are getting 4%, you are not. How do we manage this?
Yeah, we need to appreciate the fact that when we talk about intelligence, it is more than academic intelligence. Okay. As a matter of fact, for me, one of the weakest intelligences is academic intelligence. Okay. For instance, if you've ever played football, it takes a lot of intelligence to play football. Because when you have the ball, you need about 50, you have about 50 options. So to choose the right one needs intelligence. And like you also mentioned in the preamble, somebody is good at art, somebody is good at whatever. So we shouldn't see our children that the fact that this one is getting 150, I mean, looking at the difference, so this one is better than the other. And to the extent that some parents would even want to change the school of the awards.
And the programs.
And the programs because of this kind of things. Once we are doing that, we are creating rivalry. So what we can do actually is to appreciate them at the levels and the scores of their performance. Okay. So if, for instance, this one is good in the arts, appreciate the person. If this one is good in the sciences or whatever, appreciate the person. Whichever way, they all have their competencies, you know. And sometimes also it is good to do it sometimes at the blind side of the other. Okay. Sometimes I can do it, I mean, both of them, but sometimes I can do it at the blind side of the other, just to motivate them. Or else, if you don't do it that way, whilst you are motivating them, you also be creating a problem for the future, in which I think, at the end of the day, to harm the family, based on some of the things we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Now, Doc, you are a woman. growing up sometimes at home, you realize that a particular child is lazy. If you come and do this, he's not coming. You call, Sewa, come and do this. Yes, mommy, I'm here. Before you say it, like she's doing it. And it is natural that you tend to like such a person. How do you manage this so that between these two children, they do not create rivalry for themselves? Even you, the mother, how do you manage this?
I mean, I think as a mother, it's really good to be able to get through to the bottom of it. Like, so one person is okay with coming to the kitchen, another child is not. So why? You first need to find out why. Is it because they just have that kind of personality where they feel like, well, sometimes it can become, well, Sewa is there, so why do I need to do it? If I say if I decide not to do it, Sewa is going to be there to pick it up. So then unconsciously, sometimes like that cycle is being created. And so finding out the why, is it because Sewa is there to do it? Is it because of just like that personality difference where maybe for them they need to understand why is it important to be in the kitchen, you know? And I mean, as a parent, sometimes some of us grew up in because I said so, you know, order. But then I think these days, like children need to understand the why of things, and so they've been able to take that time to say, I want you to come and help me because it's a good skill to have. Someday, let's say you are living by yourself, you need to be able to eat, so you need to be able to learn how to cook. You can't always buy food from outside. It might not necessarily always be healthy, and so then being able to explain that to them, and then they understand, and sometimes making it a little fun. You know, in the kitchen, you have some gospel music playing, and then, you know, it's a fun thing to do. So I'd been able to understand why, and then sometimes it really requires that conversation with why are you behaving the way you're doing, and so then once that that answer is arrived at, and then the action follows there. But these are some examples that I have.
It means there should be conscious effort in doing this. It is not just anything. You need to take time to manage it well.
Yes.
Now, Pastor, how bad or what is the consequence if it is not managed well at all?
If it is not managed well, then definitely it's going to affect the family build-up. And you see, in the family, one of the things that we need to appreciate, I think she mentioned it earlier, is the family unity, the family harmony, so that you can grow together. And so if it is not managed, definitely it's going to affect the cohesion in the family. At the end of the day, you are going to suffer the consequences of it. You know, like we mentioned earlier, it could lead to death. I mean, in the case of...
Did you say death?
Oh, yes, in the case of, what's the name of the Cain and Abel?
Yeah.
It could lead to death and all that. So we must, to Frank, rivalry in the negative sense, if it is not managed, could lead to conflict and all manner of situations. Have you never seen in families where siblings don't even talk, they hate each other, you know? It is not something that started in a day, but it is built up over time, you know? Even let me share another example. Sometimes there could be rivalry between a son and the father over the mother.
Hey!
And the wife.
Explain, expand sheets.
Oh, yes. You know, we have what we call the Oedipus complex. Yeah, Oedipus complex, where a child feels he owns the mother as the, yes, you know, but it is good. By that, you know that the boy's affection is towards a woman. You know, it's good. And the child may even try to prevent the father from coming close to the mother, you know. It starts from, and also as the child grows, and some mothers also have so much liking for their boys, and you know, so it's something that is silent, but it is happening between the father and the son, you know, or sometimes a mother and a daughter, you know. For instance, if a girl is growing up, as far as the teenage, they have this liking for their fathers, yes, and want to be with them, hug them. Sometimes they do the things their mothers would do to their husbands. So sometimes it creates that friction between even the mother and the daughter, and it can grow to become whatever. So we need to learn how to manage them from childhood as they grow up, so that we don't suffer some consequences that will be dire.
Okay, so still discussing how to prevent them from happening, and sharing, looking at the example he just gave, could it be that from the onset, from day one, we should be explaining to them where their limits are, where it ends, or how should we do it?
I think it has to really be an intentional process. And so then if, you know, sometimes family rivalry can be generational. So then sometimes you look at, you know, your grandparents and then how their family is, and they realize that there's a lot of rivalry, and then you look up the line and there's a lot of that, and
it can descend down like
that.
And
it can descend down.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to be really intentional about, I grew up in this family, this is what I saw with my parents and their family, and I don't want that to continue. So then you want to stop that generational problem. And so then what that means is that you are really intentional. Yeah. That's really about, you have to really look at what might possibly be some of the triggers of rivalry. Am I showing favoritism? Am I really preparing, you know, one child for the arrival of another? Am I really treating my kids fairly? You know, these are some of the questions that need to be asked. Sometimes, even looking at comments that some kids will make, you like him more than me. You always, you know, some of these are signs that there might be some rivalry brewing. And so then parents need to take, you know, pay attention to that, and then start to do something about that too as well.
Now, Pastor, he says we should pay attention to some of these comments. How can we avoid it? I mean, how can we stop it from happening?
Okay, to stop it from happening, starts from love at home.
Give it to me.
Yeah, it starts at love at home. Education, awareness, consciousness. Because, you see, most of the things we mentioned here, I know there's somebody sitting out there will say, oh, is it? Yeah. You know, so it is awareness, it's consciousness. So once you are conscious about some of these things, then you know how to go about it, so that even if you are passing on the early person's attire or garment to the younger one, you do it in a way consciously for the person to appreciate it, not to feel that also it's second-hand thing you are giving to me, or you are giving my precious thing to my whatever. You need to do it in a way, explain it to them how you love both of them, and because you are not using it at this time, he or she would need it. Always communication, talking, trying to be conscious about the whole thing, or else you might think you are doing the right thing, but at the end of the day, it won't go well when they begin to feel rivalry, the rivalry amongst themselves. It will degenerate into all manner of things.
Now, from the discussion so far, I see that parenting styles is also critical here. Yeah. But I'm still coming back to the personality types. How can I use the personality differences to educate my children in terms of, for them not to, or for me to be able to, for me not to be, to show that rivalry thing between them. For example, if I know that Efia is the outgoing type and this person is not, how should I do it for me to get all of them the attention at the same time, so that one will not feel that I like Efia because she's outgoing, I do not like Kwesi because he is not. How do I manage it?
So all the different personality types have advantages and disadvantages. And so rivalries come about when you see an advantage of one and then a disadvantage of another, and then you compare them side to side. So one thing that can be done is calling out the advantage of both. You know, so one person is extroverted, so then you can call out that extroversion. Then one person is introverted. You also call out that introversion. Okay. And at the same time, you can also try to overcome some of the disadvantages of each personality type as well, by just doing that little encouraging, rather than encouragement, not beating them down. Like, you're always in your room, just come out and, you know. But it's like, oh, you've been in your room for a while. Why don't you just come and join the family and then let's have a family time now, you know. So rather than,
I understand. So now, Pastor, we are saying that we cannot use one style to treat this because our children may be different per their nature. So parents will then need to learn. Take time to learn and unlearn so that they'll be able to confront or address issues bothering their children. Now, I've been looking at, in any case, are there some advantages? Is there at all?
Yeah, from certain perspectives, we could say that there are advantages. Advantages in the sense that when you are the competitive type, I don't like competition. I compete with myself. I don't compete with anybody, but with myself. But, you know, where people like competition, then it creates some advantage because this one wants to outdo the other. And in the attempt of doing that, they become achievers. You know, so somebody might see this as advantage. However, in doing that also, if the one who is not doing so well, then it leads to jealousy, covetousness, and these two things alone, jealousy, covetousness, let me add envy, could kill, could do just anything.
What's the difference between the three? Normally we mention them, but how serious are they?
Yeah, they are serious. You know, to covet is to feel like this thing that belongs to this person is mine.
He doesn't deserve it. You rather deserve it.
Yeah, you deserve it. You know, that kind of feeling. And well, basically the three, well, they are synonymous but not the same. We may not have the time to differentiate them as we talk now. But these things, and normally they don't show. They show in actions. You know, the kind of actions that we do. So if it is the case, then it's leading us to very serious end. And I think it is not the best for us. So the attempt should be that although we see advantage in some of these things, it must be managed well. And like she mentioned, if it is in terms of calling out strength, call from both. If it is mentioning weaknesses, even say it in a more positive way, you know, so it creates some drive to get out of it than to beat the person down whilst you are trying to elevate the other.
Yeah. Same. Are the positives, or to you think we should just cut it off?
I think if it's handled in a healthy way, it can be used to basically help, especially kids, to achieve a certain goal.
That's it.
So let's say that you realize that, oh, the kids are not keeping their rooms neat. And so then you want them to start keeping their rooms neat. You can start a competition. Okay, whoever is able to lay their beds well, you know, gets this prize.
That's it.
You know, and so then you can use that to spur them on in a fun way to achieve a certain goal. And so these are some of the ways to do it.
Yeah, because we are talking about family. Now let's come to the parents, I mean husband and wives.
Okay.
How serious can it be? And what should we do? Is it that bad?
Yes, it can. To be frank, rivalry even between husband and wife could lead to divorce. Yes, and we shared examples initially. You know, the man feels I should be on top, but God has his own ways of doing things. Favored the woman. Kill your pride. I mean, kill your whatever, your ego, and be happy that my wife is doing well. But some men would not understand it that way, and they would try to abuse, sometimes even not with physically, but emotional torture. They can do the Cold War stuff, not talking to the woman, making sure that she is not happy. She always looks moody and all that. And once you are doing that, you are hurting yourself as well. So one of the ways of happiness is to make others happy. If you make others not to feel happy, you will not be happy as well. So rivalry, actually competing with your own wife or husband, could lead to a dead end. And it's not the best.
I guess that is why we see people, maybe from the beginning they had plans of having one project, Then along the line say, hey, no, now I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing my own thing. I guess that could be some of the cause.
Yes, that could be one of it.
So, to you, I mean, what should husband and wives do? What should they do? How should they kill this thing at all? How should they kill it?
I think communication.
Yeah.
Communication is a big thing. Being able to really talk about what is going on, plans that you have. I think being self-aware so that you know that, okay, this argument we just had is not really about, you know, the dishes in the sink. You know, there's more to it. There's more to it. You know, because sometimes when you think back to some of the arguments, you just realize that no, we are not fighting about that last piece of chicken I just ate.
Yeah.
You know, it's more than that. And so that self-awareness can really help, and then that communication that follows as well.
So who should take the initiative in dealing with this?
I think anyone can take that initiative to really talk about it, but because it's also a sensitive subject, is how you communicate also matters. Not just doing the communication, but how it's done in a way that is respectful, in a way that is sensitive, in a way that is not pointing at, like, you do this, you know, accusational communications don't work. And so then really being mindful about how that communication is done is really important.
You want to add something?
Yeah, I think she's said it all. And the one who has learned, for instance, maybe a husband is at home or is the wife that is out. Once you hear these things, come into the state of awareness, and you must be the one who create the drive to start working on yourself and begin to work on your wife as well, your husband, so that you can come to that space of evenness and know that, yeah, husband and wife, sometimes I don't understand. Husband and wife, and they are struggling over who is on top, who is down, and all those things. They are not relevant. You know, we must come to that state of awareness and to help us to live a very decent life as a people.
Now, Dr. Evie, please give me your last words to my viewers, on children, on husband and wives, and maybe at a corporate, at a work environment. Your last advice to us.
I think that generally we've already established that family rivalry is really, it exists, and for the most part it's not healthy. And so some of the ways to really try to curtail that is to be intentional about you know, how we parent and how we treat our husbands, how we treat our wives, and some of the comments that sometimes give way, or which signify that there might be some of these rivalries should not be brushed aside. They should really be looked at, and then more communication should be done around that, more intentionality around that too as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so basically I think the state of awareness is key. You know, human behavior is such that whatever we are doing, we are learning and we are growing with that kind of learning. I have come to realize that genetics don't influence us more than what we call mimetics. Mimetics is memes, things that you mimic, you see in your environment, the environmental influences. They influence us more than even our genetics. And so we must be careful, you know, and be in the consciousness. Whatever action we take, it has consequences. And so we must make sure that we are preparing our homes, our families, and everybody would enjoy the ambience of a very harmonious home, so that our future would be great. Or else, we would be there to reap what we have sown.
I hope it doesn't happen like
yes,
that. After this show,
yes,
we are all going to do our homeworks well.
That's it.
So to you, my lovely viewer, I guess you have heard it all. Right here on Hope TV, on Love at Home, you've heard it all. Yes, rivalry exists, but we need to take pragmatic steps in making sure that we solve them. And so we should be diligent about it, we should discuss it, we should use better techniques, we should identify everybody's own personality types and look at ways and means we can solve this issue, but not one in a box, the same thing, the way we do for Amma, we give it to everybody like that. It may not do well. So let's take time to learn our children, learn our husbands and our wives, so that we can discuss and communicate better, so that we'll be able to reduce these issues or this rivalry at home. Same at workplace. let's enjoy each other and complement whatever everybody is bringing on board. Then we'll all be achievers. Same time next week, we come to your homes again. The program has been Love at Home, and thank you so much. I've been having this discussion with Dr. Evelyn Roberts, Owusu Roberts, yes. She's a clinical psychologist and a lecturer. Then our fine man here is Pastor
Kwe. That's the lucky
yes,
that
a
way.
life coach and a lecturer at Valley View. And I am Efia Sewa. Thank you so much. Same time next week, you come again. Take care. Good night.